job fair, like a talent attraction for the Finnish game studios. And we're actually 3 of us here. We just came from the event, so we have some fresh ideas and some things to actually work out exactly like what should be the model for it.
Yeah, my name is Matti, and I'm an intern working for this Finnish Game Day. And yeah, like Oleg said, just had a last week we were 5 days in Kiev. Yeah, my name is Matti, and I'm an intern working for this Finnish Game Day. And yeah, like Oleg said, just had a
You busted from Metropolitan.
5 days in Kiev. Yeah, my name is Matti, and I'm an intern working for this Finnish Game Day. And yeah, like Oleg said, just had a
You busted from Metropolitan.
5 days in Kiev. Yeah, my name is Matti, and I'm an intern working for this Finnish Game Day. And yeah, like Oleg said, just had a
You busted from Metropolitan.
5 days in Kiev. Yeah, my name is Matti, and I'm an intern working for this Finnish Game Day. And yeah, like Oleg said, just had a
You busted from Metropolitan.
5 days in Kiev. Yeah, my name is Matti, and I'm an intern working for this Finnish Game Day. And yeah, like Oleg said, just had a
You busted from Metropolitan.
5 days in Kiev. Yeah, my name is Matti, and I'm an intern working for this Finnish Game Day. And yeah, like Oleg said, just had a
You busted from Metropolitan.
5 days in Kiev. Yeah, my name is Matti, and I'm an intern working for this Finnish Game Day. And yeah, like Oleg said, just had a
You busted from Metropolitan.
5 days in Kiev. Yeah, my name is Matti, and I'm an
what I mean, when you take this from a checkers to chess, you're really thinking about how your box is going to act. So I think everybody can. Okay. All right. So that's the value delivery side. The value prop, to whom, how you get through it, and then how you're managing and continuing. So why don't you now do the other side?
Yeah, on the left side, we have
That's the value delivery side. Value prop.
we have for the users, we have coverage, recommendation engine, and continuous service improvement. For advertisers, we have outreach and business development. As for the users.
So how much are you going to do all of this yourself? Are you going to outsource some, or is it kind of a combination?
Combination.
Okay. So here's what I would say. So again, as an investor, the key activities is I actually like to, in the second or third meeting, go through the business model canvas with the company I'm potentially investing in. And I really like to dig into the key activities. And the question there is let's take curation. What are you going to do? What concretely are you going to do, hire, create inside the company that's going to make you a top level curation? Which to me means you're the best one in creating that channel for the customer segments, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you do that? How do you become the greatest curator of YouTube videos? Which to me means you're the best one.
We use a lot of different type of data, of course, and then we have a certain people who will focus on it. So,
Yep.
in example, like blogger curators, they must know a lot about
Okay. Yes. Okay. Good. And how do you do that? What I'm driving at here, I guess you're gonna have a master curator. An interesting combination word, but master curator in your on your team, something like that.
How do you search that good
What I'm driving at here, I guess
channels?
you're gonna have using the best
Then
tools.
we add that channel to our system.
You told me yourself that there's 400 hours for every minute of
Videos uploaded to YouTube.
so there's 400 hours per minute of YouTube video. So they're going to become the best at drilling down through all that content
Yeah,
to figure out.
of course we use a lot of other data sources.
Of course, like you say, in Spotify and whatever, in tools. But again, I think you'll be questioned from an investor standpoint. How concretely can you say that you sitting here in Culture are going to be the best in the world? You can, no question, but you need to be able to justify that. Well, maybe it's related partially, to developing talent from exams or whatever. How are you going to? But you'll need to draw that out as you go forward. Some other key questions, comments? Maybe it's related partially. Okay, we'll choose where you want to go next.
Yeah, the key resources, of course, developers, creators, marketer, business developers, hardware and software subscription, and
Yep. So, good, and as you well point out, that's for the whole mass. So, the linkage here is key resources with key activities. So the resources are things that you're going to invest in that you need, you need some of them in-house. So in other words, if you're outsourcing it, maybe one of your key activities might be that you're great at outsourcing or something, but one of the issues is what is key and what is not key. And to me, that is, the key means that you've got to have these now or as soon as possible, and you've got to have them under your control somehow. Either contracted as employees, or a lease agreement on equipment with somebody else, or whatever. And without each one of these, you don't have a business. That's a basic thing to think about, is if you take one of these out, if you take the curators out, you don't have a business, basically. If you take the developer out, obviously you don't have a so, but always to me, especially as a startup, from a lean principles, how do you incrementally start creating this with low resources, so you don't have to spend a bunch of money in the beginning. So, what I'm trying to get at here is there's probably a hierarchy of these sums you need. Now, you need the developers before you need the curators, probably, because they can't curate anything before they develop. So always think kind of a hierarchy, and I think you're more or less done with that. Other questions, or? Okay.
Yeah, continue.
Yep.
The key partners,
So always think kind
of course, content creators, musicians, bloggers, sports channels, news channels, kids channels, and so on. Then we have agencies, blogger agencies, music record companies, and distribution companies, and other partners, media and friends.
So, okay, so what kind of agreements can you imagine making with content creators? How do you, what kind
Maybe
of
this
partnership?
would be one, but not
Yeah.
sure about it yet.
Yes.
And also that we will, if we have users like, we can
Yep.
lift those, in example, new musicians
Yep.
videos.
Okay, so emerging artists or whatever. So I like that. So the idea, I'm not sure, it might be a value proposition, yeah, if you're talking about kind of partnering with, actually you're kind of partnering with your channels there. But obviously think about what it is that motivates. So if you have a key partner, that definition, that means that you hope at least that key partner has you in that box, in their own box, right? So if I was to call one of your, bloggers and say, show me your business model canvas, he would have TuneBrox in the key partners. So you can always think about that kind of congruency. And okay, it's not 100% true. It's a smaller company. The big guys may not have you listed in the beginning, but that's where you want to be in the end. So again, in order for that, you always need to be able to step into their shoes and think, okay, what is it that makes TuneBrox a month better? But I think, I was trying to think, could there be any others, but yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, but go ahead. Why did you go?
And in the cost structure box, we have cost development,
Yep.
software, subscriptions, and other IT costs. Then we have wages, marketing budgets, and administrative costs.
That's basically all. Yeah. Okay.
And on the revenue side, we have branded playlists, platform sales, display ads, video ads, and possible YouTube talent development programs, data licensing, and premium subscriptions.
Okay. So I think, good. So questions or comments on that? So I think this is an excellent canvas. One reason I wanted to put you up first, because I already saw that. So I think your task is to now kind of validate which ones of these are the most important and when. So as you're going out over the next 2 or 3 months, we're going to talk about this actually next week, the customer development element, because we're going to have this, but we're going to try to get feedback from all of the boxes, and we want to understand what are the key kind of issues we want to pull out of those. So it's going to help you prioritize these. It's going to maybe help you say, well, some of these things, we can afford to do without, so we take it off. So in other words, we want to keep that as simple and easy to work with as possible. But I think you've done a really good job here. Some other questions or comments? You also defended it very well, so you were very organized going through it. I think kind of credible as a presenter.
I think it's nicely structured.
Exactly. And I think this is already a week ahead. So I think if anybody's not here yet, try to get to this level by next week. Because this becomes so easy to deal with, and like when we look at this video this afternoon and discuss it, it's really going to show how this is going to help you deal with investors, partners, customers. So very good. Thank you. Round of applause. Rent Mania. So welcome to, if you want to take a cup of coffee, do you want to plug in? Okay, all right, let's take a minute break. Thank you. Rent Mania. So, welcome to, if you want to take a cup of coffee, do you want to plug in? All right, let's take a minute break. Well, today's polar bear pitching, isn't it?
Oh,
I think it is.
in Poland.
Yeah, and it's absolutely, was it -20 up there?
Yeah.
Good timing. Okay, let's get started. technical issues? Okay.
Yeah, it was working, but
Yeah, hold on.
I was aggressively unplugging it,
Yeah.
unplugging it, and now it's
Right.
oh, maybe.
Did I had a, yes.
Good.
I had a common text.
All right. So should we start?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
So, should we start from the right corner, right customer segments?
So that's okay. So it bounces around. Sometimes one's better than another, but whatever's most
So
comfortable.
it is based on what we already know.
Okay.
So it's actually
Yeah.
as the business runs right now.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, it's just feel free to add anything because it might be different for Finland and I think global. But
But for background, when did you first build this, or when did you do your first canvas?
well, the first one was in Startup Sound.
Okay, so that
And
was
then-
yeah.
Maybe we got another one in Russia maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah. So
Also, we worked with like marketing people, and then we got another one, especially the customer side.
yeah.
So yeah, and the input here is pretty useful.
Okay, great. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so yeah, based on our statistics, customer segments are young families, which might be surprising. So okay, everyone remembers that we do P2P sharing, right? So it's like a platform where you can
Yes.
rent, list anything you don't use. And the value proposition is that sometimes things get pricey, and you can rent pricey or rarely used items on demand. Also, people do make extra cash, and like we have some customers who just completely leave off renting stuff on our platform. Like there is a lady, she lost her job, I think, and then she got a kid. So she just
Yeah.
she rents out like everything, including her TV and stuff, and makes money on it.
That's so. How much would she make in a month?
Well, 1K doing.
Wow. Okay.
And sometimes, like there are expensive drones, for example, you just can't buy them right away in Russia, for example.
Right.
And also try and buy, and it's goals related to that. So if you're not sure what you want to get, thing or not, like sometimes we do special promo, like rent iPhone X for a day.
Yes.
See whether you like it.
Good. So I like it. So we'll go through the customer segments and then go back to it. But one point is this is actually why, in general, value proposition is the first thing you present because it gets everybody on the map. If you presented the segments first, you couldn't really do that. All right, go ahead.
Now, customer segments, and this is like the actual statistics. So, young families with infants, like kids 3 to 4 years old max, and a lot of that chunk of those people also traveling. Well, let's say you fly from Vladivostok to Moscow, it's like 11 hours flight, and then you don't want to pay extra for carrying the stroller. So what you do, you rent a stroller to us in Moscow. And people also rent toys. Yeah, there's some parents who say, oh my gosh, I'm tired of buying those toys because every month my kid wants a new toy. So they rent from each other. And I think here we also kind of substitute the previously existing offline method where young parents get into communities, especially like young moms on maternity leave, take a lot of time and they care about their kids. So they would exchange them otherwise like offline methods. So tourists, sportsmen, well that's pretty straightforward. People travel again, rent stuff they want for traveling, like kayaks or canoes, like snowboards. Professionals, for example, when you do some sort of freelance work, let's say you're a cameraman, and you can lease a camera from a company for like a, for example, amateur movie maker, but then usually the company will take a huge deposit and there are going to be a bunch of like liabilities and stuff, so sometimes it's easier to rent from another person. That's where we kick in. So essentially professionals usually work in the like high check segments, and then they use that stuff to make their business. it's like essential for you. And also urban livers, geeks, those are people who just want to try cool stuff. So that's like try and buy like drones, PlayStations or like movie theaters for kids and stuff. So people who are kind of get used to the idea of sharing, they live in big cities and they find them consuming.
Yeah.
as well.
So can I ask, how many of these were on your, when you made your first hypotheses 2 years ago, 4 years ago? Were these, how many of these?
None?
How many of these were on
Well,
when you made your
I would say urban livers and geeks were there.
Yeah,
no one-
because you're an urban liver and geek, so.
Yeah, because that's how it started. And tourist sportsmen were there.
Yeah, okay, all right.
But professionals and young families are out of scope.
So that was based on data, basically, and observation,
Yeah.
once you got going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, customer relations.
Actually do channels first. if you don't
Channels.
mind. Yep.
Well, first is the search engine result page. That's where we get a lot of our traffic. And
Yeah.
context ads, social media ads, bloggers, targeting, and viral. It's straightforward. I would say the CRP account is the most, like 80%.
80%? So you're driven by how high you are on the search list?
Because renting is a bit tricky. Renting is not a planned decision. At least what we see on statistics. So it's like decision.
So
people
you're driven by
go to
how
like
high you-
Yandex Market, which is like Russian,
Right.
Trade, whatever, Amazon. They see they want to buy something, then they realize, well, that's too expensive.
Yeah.
I need it once. Is there things to rent? They go try renting. And if we are in search, then we're good. If not, they just go back and buy it. from
Yep.
the- So in many senses, we are competing with the like big e-commerce, like Amazon.
Interesting, okay.
So yeah, and it's not a planned decision. It's always like a on-demand decision. So if you're not in search, you're out.
Interesting, okay.
So well, I guess the rest is straightforward.
Okay,
Any other questions with the channel?
so,
Social media, Facebook, and VK, which is like the Russian Facebook.
okay. So so the question is, and you think these in general translate to different markets by and large? I guess they probably do, but again, I don't know the space that well.
Yeah, I think so.
Retargeting, just for, what is that, what is
Like we
that?
have competitors. Well, when you use network ads,
Okay,
we target clicks from your competitors or.
so you
same
try to
segment.
show
Yeah.
up, your ad word next to
Yeah.
their, okay, interesting, yeah,
So,
okay.
which Slava, какой лучше всего работает?
So you try to show up,
Context?
okay, context, okay.
How about in Finland?
We don't know yet. I think we're gonna be starting with some like partners channels, maybe like Oikati.
Oikotia?
Yeah, like we got this idea that we can maybe rent out furniture with apartments because like our apartment is empty and there are other countries like in the States
Right.
a lot of apartments go unfurnished. Like for
Yeah.
example in Russia all apartments are furnished. So there is
Yeah.
not a market for that. But
Okay.
here for example a lot of foreigners come to Helsinki and then they're like, oh, I'll rent an apartment and then they spend a lot of money like furnishing it. But we can make kind of leasing.
Yep,
So it might be a channel partner.
interesting, okay.
No, customer relationships, and that's comes like from the core of our service. It's a customer support this channel. So we got a lot of many calls and emails for customer support, and that's how we have to explain people how everything works, that it's all safe, that their money are not going to be stolen. They can be kept in our bank account, and we
Yeah.
can pay the deposit back, and so a lot of this frequently asked questions and stuff.
Yeah, that's gotta be a
Yeah, because it's a service.
huge thing, yeah.
Well, emails and SMS, we do have a comprehensive chain of emails and SMS for each deal. So I was saying last time probably 20 something SMS and emails for
Yeah.
each deal for both parties, like owner venture. Hey, your deal is about to start. That's how much money you're gonna get. Your money like on hold now. You're gonna get it tomorrow. So it's a lot of.
Yeah.
It's a big structure of emails and SMS. Yeah, delivery guys. So people who actually deliver. I think roughly like 40% of our orders in Italy are delivered to your door. You can also do pickup, self pickup. But it's kind of bit of a neck in Russia, but I think it's going to be more in here. So yeah, delivery guys are the one who can give small instructions on the thing that you're using and talk with you on the door. They also check your documents. And then the web page, well, that is our site.
Yeah.
So a lot of instructions there.
So, can you, just a small digression here, but so about how many goods have been delivered so far over time?
Well, it's close to 17 now.
7K. And of those, how many have had some sort of have you had to refund or whatever based on?
Refund or damage coverage?
Let's say either or.
What do we refunded? Didn't like it? We don't do it. It almost never happens.
Okay, so,
Something gets damaged and it's in a bad condition. Well, 1%.
say 1%?
Less, yeah. It's not that prevalent.
And it's insured, what, or you have insurance for that? Okay, interesting. So that's low, 1%,
Maybe like costumes, the one which, well, costumes and dresses is the problematic segment. So we tried launching dresses and it's a bit complicated because, you know, special ladies, they would need like 10 different pairs of dresses to choose. And then you can get the set, collect from different locations, and then that becomes a problem. That's where there are going to be a lot of refunds.
so what do? Do you still take those, or do you?
We tried piloting it, but it didn't work.
Okay, all right.
But, for example, in the States, there's this company called where there are going to be a lot of refunds. It's
Specific
dress renting.
dress running, yeah, I can imagine that's a huge
Yeah, they like 800 million more.
Right, okay, but I just wanted a general idea on that, all right. So out of 7,000, maybe 70 have had significant damage and, okay, all right, good.
So should we go to the left?
So how about you yourself, looking at that side, I mean, where are the biggest bottlenecks in that? Or what do you need to improve the most?
Here?
In your whole right-hand side, I mean, where are the,
Well, working with channels is important. Like,
yeah,
we've been relying a lot on paid marketing before,
yeah,
but then we invested into search engine optimization.
Okay.
And we like dramatically decreased our marketing budget because a lot of now is like organic. Like without, well, we'll lose some traffic, but not
Yeah.
tremendously.
okay,
So,
okay,
yes, investing into CRP
okay,
is a big thing.
that's interesting. And how did you invest in that? You got talent on the team, or you,
Yeah, we got a specific one, like one person, programmer. Well, actually, there were even two of them. So like, you know,
focused?
yeah, you have to like align in all categories because add special tags each categories.
Yeah,
Rewrite a lot of text and stuff.
right, okay, interesting, all right, okay, to the other side.
Now, key activities.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
Now, key activities first is the e-commerce module development. That's a problem. It's complicated because our e-commerce module consists of three major things. So one is we call it storefront. Storefront is what you typically see on any e-commerce shop.
Yeah.
So that's where you have the database available,
right,
goods, and you see each good, you can write a description. So it consists of like of a search, list of available items, and then for each item there is a card that describes this item
Yeah.
specifically. And it has like a map,
Yeah.
some specs,
Yeah.
and then calculator, price, and stuff. And that just itself is like a Zalando, essentially. It's a
Mhm.
complicated module. The second module, which is specific to us and some other companies are doing, like Airbnb, is messaging.
Okay.
Because you have to agree on terms, like whether it's going to be pick up or delivered, what is the available time slots, what is the condition of the good, or ask some specific question like, will this stroller go well with my, I don't know, car or something like this.
Mhm.
Or ask for like a discount.
Yeah.
And then the third big chunk is like payments processing. So it's also like kind of fintech module.
Yeah.
So, and there's also like a profile and stuff. Yeah, and overall that all gets really, really complicated.
Yes. Yeah, but again, that's what even though it's, even if there's 1% damage rate, I can guess the insurance coverage is it's a fundamental
Yeah.
value prop. I mean,
We will get to that, and I'll explain how it works.
all right, go ahead.
So now on-demand delivery.
Yeah.
We have to set up the delivery. For example, in Finland, that's going to be a problem for us since there is no on-demand companies here. Like in the States or Russia, there are multiple service providers which promise 3-hour delivery from door to door.
Yeah.
Even in smaller cities like Minneapolis. Yeah, sometimes they get pricey, like FedEx in Minneapolis charge like $70 for 3-hour delivery. But in Moscow and St. Petersburg, they're cheap. I think we do like, we used to do like €5 delivery. Now it's like double.
Okay.
Still affordable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, insurance coverage, we do have to provide coverage because that's like a deal breaker.
Right.
So people don't want to. Some people even have their own like
Right.
coverage. Let's say,
Rental insurance.
for example, in the States, yeah,
Yeah.
you can rent from a leasing company unless you buy a special like insurance coverage from another company. They don't even sell their own. They ask you to come with already prepaid coverage.
Yep.
So, both to their name.
Mhm.
Payment gateways. So we do have to support payment gateways in each country you work. I think in Finland it's going to be Stripe. In the States that is Stripe,
Okay.
and in Russia it's Yandex.
Yeah.
And we also have to do security checks.
Mhm.
So in Russia, we are official operator of personal data, which is a big thing in Russia. So we do collect like passports and their photos,
Yeah.
and then we have a company that checks their using image recognition. They check all the info from your passport against federal API databases, like, and we even used to get like your credit score, but also we know whether you have like crime records, whether your passport is valid, your name is real, you got any like problems with the law, you have insurance code for Russian terrorists,
Yeah.
whatever, data leaks and stuff. And if we get any signs, any pluses out of those
Yeah.
fields, then we are out. So we don't deal with it. In Finland, I think it's in trouble because Finland is a small country where everyone trusts each other.
It's not only that, I would also
But in the
say,
States, that is
I would
trouble
tell
too.
in Finland, there's a lot of, how would I say, laws that can protect your rights as a private citizen, and what information companies are allowed to gather about you, like data security laws and so on. And now there's, I don't know if you've heard, there's a very large EU-wide, and it's not just in Finland, it's across the EU, legislation that's coming, that's going to be data security and privacy issues. And I I know that there's a lot of going on, because now there's huge issues with, like, companies are not allowed to just like gather your emails and so on.
So in Russia it is.
And you have, yeah, you have to be from the databases, you have all of the information, and I know that like in Finland, like, it's not just, like,
It's
most
complicated.
companies in Finland are now like sort of panicking,
It
because
is.
this can become like a very expensive problem.
In Russia it's a license thing too. So as soon as you can match, so what is personal information? Personal information is any two chunks of information, then it can be matched to your name, let's say. Or even like, if it's just your name, that's fine. But if it's your name and the date of birthday, and there is like one-to-one, you can establish one-to-one correlation between those two fields, then it's a personal information. So, and it gets really tricky. You have to get special license, there are special rules how you keep that information, what are the security levels of like that information, and you have to get up to the speed to get this permission. So I imagine it's the same in Finland. I still believe there are going to be a way to collect the personal information because a lot of business depends on it.
Well, I mean, let's say that there is ways,
But
because there's lots of web stores and so on that are running in Finland, so obviously there are legal ways of.
In the States, it's straightforward because Stripe requires you to have 4 last digits of social security number.
Right. Yeah.
Like in Finland, there are
Basic information will be like possible, but I'm not sure about these like crime records or stuff like that. I think that stuff like
Well,
that
but then
is
again, we probably won't have a lot of like damage, thieves,
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's different.
I think here it will be more safe. Though there are still
In the States, there are companies that provide you with the credit score check for like a couple of bucks.
Like this. So I think what the thing I'm getting out of this discussion is you know, it's really relevant, obviously, all of your activities, so it's well done. And I can imagine what you want to do when you're pitching to investor or whatever is really short circuit a lot of these questions. Which again, that's not the purpose of this, is discussion, but I think that's going to link to the afternoon discussion, is what are the things that you need to put in to make sure that you don't, you know, you don't get stuck on one issue that
Yeah.
stops investors. But let's move on so we can.
So should we go to key resources?
Yeah, let's do key resources. Yeah.
So key resources that we need. Developers, actually there are in somewhat order, I think.
Yeah.
Customer care team, that's important. Like, we even laid off some of our developers, but we couldn't lay off our customer care team.
Yeah.
Delivery guys, yeah, marketers, software, hardware stuff, security team, and managers.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Absolutely.
any questions here?
So it's always you know, the key resource is a tricky one, how to do it you know, so this is obviously, it's a tool, mainly the business model canvas is a tool for yourself. And I think, again, you know, as you go forward, obviously prioritizing and, you know, which ones are 0-1, you know, have it or you don't, versus which ones are kind of shade of gray. Key resources, if you put developers at the top, means obviously that it's critically important to have the right developers, right? So you got the guys that know the SERP and whatever. So, but the managers are, got it. Yeah, you don't need.
I don't know, maybe even like customer care stuff and delivery guys should go top.
Might be.
Like some of our developers and managers in this room and common parents, like the business runs.
Yeah, right.
Who needs us? But yeah, as soon as we like decrease by one customer care team, then the rest start complaining, oh my god, we can't handle all those calls and stuff. So,
Yes, exactly. Okay, but yeah, let's move on.
So, key partners. So, rental companies, because even though we're like a C2C platform, in reality we do start in a new city with like rental companies first.
Yes.
So they provide like initial listing for us. And we see it as a partnership, I think. Because for some of them we can have a special promos and like special deals.
Right.
So it's a it's a mutual beneficial.
Yeah.
So it's partnership. Media, they talk about us. We see some free and paid posts in different part of media.
Mm-hmm.
So outsource partners like delivery and even front-end developers, especially CSS styling developers.
Yeah.
Also expensive gear brands like Bosch, for example, which produce like
Yep.
DIY tools. And, so we do have some like special campaigns when we run try and
Yes.
buy stuff.
Yeah.
Now, cost structure.
Yep.
Any reservations here?
No, I think so.
Okay. So cost structure, wages,
Yeah.
small
Sure,
part,
yeah, yeah.
small part of
Yeah,
our cost
right.
structure.
Yeah, everybody's different.
So marketing is a big part. Ads and promos like promo codes, right? So we kind of do have
Yeah, sure.
big
Yeah.
acquisition costs because it's a C2C.
Right.
So to establish the deal, you have to acquire 2 users.
So do you know what your customer acquisition costs are at this point?
Yes.
All right, yeah, fine.
You know.
Yeah, I don't need to know. May be important.
Well, we earn more, but not from the first deal. So like,
Yeah, yeah.
the customer has to return, so they actually start earning money.
Mm. Yep.
Retention.
Yes, absolutely.
Subsidies, which is a surprise, but we did subsidize delivery because it was too expensive for us to deliver.
Yeah.
What else? Что мы еще субсидировали?
No, you don't have to go too deep.
Anyway, that was a big chunk of it.
Yep.
Coverage.
What do you mean by coverage?
Covers like we do have to. I mean, we have a legally binding contract that we establish between 2 parties. So if you do break something, you're liable to the owner.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in most cases, we try to encourage people to kind of settle everything in between themselves.
Yeah.
But if not, and if there is no insurance that we buy, then we pay. So,
Yeah.
so like we promise that if anything happens, then we cover up to like 30,000 rubles.
Okay.
And we up to 3,000 bucks in the States.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. That's fine.
And so I mean we do get a couple of cases per month.
Okay.
So hardware, software, we have to pay for hosting a lot of software, which is expensive. Like goddamn Photoshop is so expensive. And then SMS.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of big budget too, because we have a lot of.
Yeah.
So each deal like requires 10 SMS for each part. It's like 20 overall.
Wow.
And then if
So you need
price
to
is
buy
like,
bulk SMS in every market, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. Let's go to the revenue side.
Revenue now.
Finally, good stuff.
To make this all work, we charge like 20% commission on owners, 50% commission on renters. That's 35 total. So out of €1, 35 cents go to our fund. So then listing, booths, and premium services, that's still into development because they're looking for that. So like some rental companies do this trick that they renew their posting every couple hours, their things go on top,
Right.
and we can rent them from doing that and charge them money because that's their business.
Okay, that's important. That's your disruption.
That is important. Actually, we think that that might go top in
Yeah,
the good
okay.
scenarios.
Let's keep
Because,
that,
I mean,
you know,
1 or 2% of our owners probably make 80% of the revenue.
okay, yep,
Also selling insurance delivery, and we're shifting into this right now. So we stop subsidizing delivery. We see how the market reacts. So,
yeah.
сколько потеряли мы? 5? Oh, we didn't even. Huh? So surprised that our delivery price increased like double
Yep.
in Moscow. Well, we didn't lose that many, maybe like 10%.
Yep,
So.
that's interesting.
So people understand that they have to pay. People are willing in Moscow to pay their convenience
Yeah.
to get delivery.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, selling insurance and other stuff. So we actually want to, make some statistics and get into the point where we charge maybe a hidden commission fee in every deal,
Yep.
depending on what are our coverage, like security percent, damage percent, percentage. So.
Are you taking a cut on the delivery fee as well? Are you taking a cut on the delivery cost as well?
Not yet. Well, we are looking for. So right now we just outsource it. But if we do have a nice partner, then we can.
So, good. So let me summarize something here. So the difference between your presentation and Jonas, I think you both did really nice jobs, but yours is based on 4 years of, 3 years of experience running this thing. So he can drill deep down into these and say what has worked, what hasn't worked. So, whereas Jonas is obviously more in the kind of experimentation, trying to figure which ones to put in. So you're going to have different. I suggest that you have different types of issues when you're working through this. One is, I mean, one of the key things from your side is probably you've tried a lot of these things and you kind of know what works in the Russian market, what doesn't. And then it's hypotheses whether they work. For example, in Finland, you did So let me ask you, when you ran your experiment in Minneapolis, which of these really?
Well, the scale was not big enough
to really be able to
any real numerical stuff.
Right.
But
which of these looks like
so customer segments is checked.
Checked. Okay.
Value proposition is also good, especially like Mac Extra Cash works in the States. Oh, renting my kayak for $50, amen. Where should I put my name on?
Interesting. So that affects your the message you have to that segment.
Because in Russia people are sloppy. They're like making money. Oh, let the government pay us social.
But interesting, because I can see those different value props are going to be.
But then, for example, saving money, I think in the States is not a big deal. So people are very up for.
Because they just keep huge piles of credit card debt, so they're willing to live with all that.
Yeah. So people, if there is any barrier, that's what I learned in Minneapolis. If there is a barrier, they say, oh, I'll just go get over to Amazon. So I spend my Amazon. So
right.
So
they've already budgeted that.
Yeah, my good friend with whom I lived in Minneapolis, he just bought a new house. So he already 150K debt. And then he needs
climbing wall.
Yeah, to clean the roof.
Oh,
so
ladder.
Yeah. So there was a Menards, which is like a big a kit cut out. So we went to Menards and there was like $130 ladder, and then you got to buy it and then put it on top of your car, or inside is like a Mazda that I put it in the car, and it was just a bit of a knack. You have to clean this back seating to collapse it and then put the ladder in. So I said, no, I'll just go back home, and it was like $5 more expensive than Amazon, but I don't have to deal with it. So, and it's going to be tomorrow at my house. So he just bought it for more expensive from Amazon, and then tomorrow morning it was already shipped at the door.
So that would not have happened in Russia or Moscow?
Yeah, well, there is no Amazon. That's the first.
Interesting. Okay, good. But this is very instructive. Thank you, and let's give a hand. All right, let's now go to. I thought we have a lunch after Gavin. So 12:15.
I'll be back, I hope.
All right, let's now go.
Johnny Ive on his good. Apple designed a beautiful computer with one port on it, and then you have to stick all these tubes.
You know why? Because that was not both for Apple. They wanted to buy it too. Challenge now.
Yeah, that's beautiful. All right, good.
Okay, so last week was the first time in my life I've ever seen this.
Yeah.
To me, a business plan is a good, 1.5 kilo document,
Yes.
supported by a big, nice, maybe 30 or 40.
Yeah, yeah, charts and graphs.
30 or 40 sheet Excel spreadsheet. That was the idea.
Yes.
Okay, so, well, you should be vicious with me because it's the first time I've ever done this, and probably a lot of it has been missed out. But anyway, we start at the beginning with value proposition. And basically for us, I think that the way that I think about it is that we are, everybody knows this Maslow's pyramid, and basically we are aiming for these three bottom-most key segments. That when you go home, well, number one, you want to go home somewhere where you feel safe, and you have some sense of community. You have your family and you have your neighbors who are going to help you out. And the people that we are targeting, they don't have that today. And it's a really basic human need. Of course, everybody here knows as well that in the first world there is below here as well. The first need of civilization, which is good life. Apart from that. So then, what is our project? Our product helping is that basically the communities and families that don't have anywhere to live, and then was it Heidi said last week as well, we should also, and we have in our mind somehow, these low-cost buildings for non-residential. I mean, down the line, we can of course sell these buildings to people who are not desperately in need, just for a bit more commercial reasons. Maybe what's missing from here is the actual product.
Yeah,
Just the
so I was going to
low-cost
say
housing.
that, I think because this kind of sets the framework, but it doesn't tell exactly what you're delivering.
Yeah.
So make sure that, but that's fine for now. Get to something.
So anyway, so basically affordable housing is what we
Yes,
have here, which can be customizable. Today we have some ideas for that.
yeah,
Okay, so customer segments, this we know, I think, or we think we know quite well. I mean, obviously first, it's for the people, our customer is actually not the people who we're making money from. The people who are benefiting from our products will get it for free, basically.
yeah.
And then we have here as well that we have this plan to use asylum seekers and immigrants in Finland and in the EU to help, well, number one, to help us, and number two, to help themselves. And it is a fact that 60% of the Iraqis are going back to Iraq, and we need people, so we can train them, we can get them, we can employ them here. They need employment. It is possible to do it legally if we are following some quite simple rules. And then, of course, then we get to the bigger where the money's coming from. And this, for example, in our case, we have an Iraqi government, so it's from the receiving country. They want our product, and from what we've been discussing, they need to go to their counterparts in the UN and say, okay, we would like to have this, and then go through the process in this way. And then we have the supporting country governments, which is, in this case, the Finnish government. And we really, at the moment, we get really, really strong support from the Finnish ambassador to Iraq. She is helping us a lot on a weekly basis. And also the Minister of Foreign Trade and Industry, Kai Jutkinen, he is helping us a lot. So basically for Finnish government, they are interested, well, they want to, number one, they want to reduce a little bit these immigration problems. You can say that it is a problem and quite high profile in the news has been. And also they want to help obviously solve the problem in Iraq so that the Iraqi guys don't need to come to the British. And then of course we have the international aid agencies, the World Bank and the UN, which are very good and very bureaucratic, and working from our end towards them. It seems to be almost, if you start reading the rules and regulations, how we should go about, getting the procurement rolling, it seems like almost an insurmountable task. It's very complicated. Then we have the NGOs. I mean, there's the Finnish NGOs. There is Suomen Purman Risti and this church group. They are basically have expressed some interest in buying our product to deploy in even to have it, you know, waiting here in Finland or somewhere in a distribution point, so if something happens, then they can rapidly deploy it. And then in the end, the commercial sales to non-displaced customers. And this basically, the system that we are using has been, we have built, well, Hala has not, but anyway, there are 1,100 buildings around the world, like in Mexico, South Africa, Namibia, where else? There's a couple of places where we have built these buildings, and it's like, you know, we are building in Namibia now a coffee shop for a university, because it's the square meter price is extremely cheap. It's very good. It's 100 square meters, and you know it's much cheaper, faster, and easier than other buildings. And, you know, it's paying the bills. So that was the customer
So
segment.
let's go on, let's do the whole right side. I have a bunch of comments and maybe others too, but let's do the channels and customer relationships first.
Okay, so the channels is a bit tricky, and this we are just feeling our way at the moment. And this is basically the main thing that we are doing now is this political lobbying and government support, where the Finnish ambassador is basically going to Iraq and saying, well, we have this Finnish company here who can do this, and well, luckily for us, he's doing a very good job, so they are extremely interested in that. And you know, this is without that support today, I think it would be quite difficult for us to get direct contact with the guys who really want to implement our solutions.
Yeah.
And then we have this minefield of the official procurement portals, which is for UN, for World Bank, they have this web portal where you write the brief description of your company and what you offer, and then if somebody's doing a procurement, they do a search through the database and they find you. And we paid, for example, for UN development aid, it was something like $800 a year, or something like that, we have to pay for that. And we thought, okay, then we get our access to UN. But when we talked to the UN representative in Copenhagen for Finland, he said, but it's not so easy, because every single different UN agency has their own portal that you have to pay like 500, 800 euros a year, or dollars a year to access. And then when you look into that portal, there is maybe 20, 30,000 companies doing everything from pencil supply to, paint and windows, and so you really have to target. I was looking for projects for, kind of like to see how the companies are actually getting into that process, and there was nothing remotely close to what we have. So I think it seems to be very difficult for us to go down that road to start off with. But everybody agrees we have to be there, and we need to work on that. And then this personal relationship building, I mean, it is very much that this is connected to the political lobbying, is that the ambassador to Iraq from Finland has a personal relationship with this one Iraqi, very senior official. She's talking to him about something else, and he's saying, no, what about this Finnish housing guys? I want to know more about these. So this is how we see it, is that if we can get this one, they made a request for 5,000 person village, which means 1,000 houses, if there's 5 persons per house. If we can get this started and a kind of order process going on, then if they see that it works, then the need is so massive that it will continue, because this is the guy who is deciding, and he is instrumental in creating the policy in Iraq. And then once we get the reputation in Iraq, then it's time to go to Syria, Afghanistan, and wherever. But very much without the Finnish ambassador, or without this guy showing us interest, then we would be keen into the work.
So this is so interesting, contrasting this with really other models. You are really, you've got to go deep into a couple influencers, and then prove you can deliver, and then go deeper. And so it's kind of you have a very different, although Jonas, of course, that's about influence marketing partially. I mean, again, at its core about how to influence and lobby a few people who will make or break.
The real deal here is to know their unofficial KPIs. Because even Finnish ambassador has an official KPI, which is on the paper, which is bringing nice international outlets to them. And then that Iraqi guy also has an internal KPI. So, and you gotta get really very into politics and get it.
Yeah,
And then you can tackle it.
so this is good. It is. It has its. You know, both sides have their strengths and weaknesses. This one is. Yeah, this. There's a depth to this that is pretty.
And you know, based on this as well, is that, you know, unfortunately, in some ways the future of power is in my hands, because, you know, this conference we go to next week, it's, you know, international, in Kuwait, is an international conference for the reconstruction of Iraq, specifically about this, and they are aiming to what, like $81 billion they are going to.
No, there is money here for sure.
Yeah,
It's
there is
like,
money. Yeah,
I think you have to find out what are the real insights and how they want to spend their money. I think it's even more so with the UN and the UN, because those organizations are bureaucratic, but they do have to take care of it.
And also about like, how about this is the Red Cross disaster relief?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, this NGOs, the SPR and the church and stuff like that, they're interested, but I think that that's, well, it can be globally quite big, of course, as well in itself.
Have you searched for other programs that skyrocket? You should find a person who knows those underlying politics. What are the most successful companies in this domain? I mean, because there's like water, like they get water, they get like clothing maybe, or what else?
I mean, there's big business here, but the problem with a lot of this is that it's all about relationships, and it's incredibly popular, and it's very much power business also.
It is.
I mean, you're talking about like these big projects and big money, it's a lot to do with like relationship building, and it's a lot to do with, you know, certain power gains and so on, so.
Those people will use you to lift up in politics.
Yeah, of course. But, you know, and the other thing as well is that, well, I mean, this conference next week, I'm going like with a pile of business cards like this, basically. And I mean, there's last count they said it was like 1,800 delegates so far, and Bivey said it was the most chaotic conference she's ever heard about in her entire life. And for sure, you know, I don't plan on coming back with anything other than, you know, pile of contacts. And people know me and I know them, and that's it. There's no other expectations. But the other thing as well is that you know, the Turkish and Chinese companies, they are going there, you know, with big, let's say, forgetting big cases of cold hard cash underneath the table as well.
Especially Chinese.
Yeah, we are talking about billions and billions and billions of
Right.
Chinese companies.
So your tactics in this conference, first bring a lot of red. Well, I don't know if they sell Red Bull in Kuwait, but sounds like you've got to be attacking on a lot of fronts. On the other hand, there are only a few people that are, you know, really make or break for you at this point. So.
Yeah.
One question, have you done, I mean, I know you've been, so have you done, I know, but I'm, you know, you have to increase it, I know you've worked a lot, you know, like in Russia, and Eastern Europe, I know you're talking about South America. Have you actually worked in the Middle East before, or have you like been in negotiations before, or?
No, not at all.
Okay.
But I think in South America, Russia, China, Malaysia,
This could actually be something that, okay, but not here, but at some point have a little, chat on the subject. Because I've also been to the Middle East, conduct some business there. So I've actually my husband is very involved. So, but at some later date,
Yeah.
there's certain issues, like cultural issues that it's.
By the way, the biggest bribe I ever been offered is €1 million.
Back in Russia?
Yeah.
In Russia, it's usually 10 to 15%.
Yeah.
So where is it?
Ghana blew it.
All right, you already blew
I
it.
spent, like was it George Best said, I spent it all on whiskey and women and song, and the rest of it I wasted.
All right, let's get to the sides.
Yeah, okay, time is running out. Yeah, hungry. So where were we now? Channels, customer
Yeah,
relationships.
relationships, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the customer relations, we touched on that a little bit anyway, which is a little bit, just getting the first contact. We're thinking very important for us. We have one model house in Finland that's, has been there for, let's say, 10, 15 years. But we have made, we are in discussions with this Hamina vocational school that they will build a show house in Hamina, and then we will have this pack, this home in a box, that people can come and, if somebody wants to come and see a reference, then we can bring them to Helsinki and then go to, we have them then to bring them to Hamina and show them around, and they can touch it and feel it and see it and so on. And this probably needs a little bit more because there's a big jump between this quite high level work and then this kind of actually getting them to come and see what we have.
So I think the biggest challenge with yours is I'm thinking, I mean, there are a lot of down challenges, but thinking about this customer segments and whether you want to simplify this and just make this, at the end of the day, your customers are the people, people using the housing that you build. And so there's this is really tricky because in general you want to say that your customers are the ones who are paying you, but on the other hand, the customers are also the ones that are generating the value, and them moving to your house, using your housing means that the guys paying you are going to want to pay more. So this, I think this is exactly the right place to be right now, but I think you might end up finding that, like the aid agencies, supporting governments and things, they could possibly be channels, they could possibly be partners. Actually, I think this is exactly the right place to be right now, but so we got to think about that. But yeah, I don't think you want to sit down, like, I know that you're going to be dealing with investors soon. I think we probably want to clarify the customer segments. It's a struggle when it's a kind of a purpose-driven thing, how to kind of fix this right. But let's continue. But it's
because anyway, basically here, if our solution doesn't work, if people get the houses and then they don't want to build them or they think that they're not good or it doesn't work, then that will be the end of the business anyway.
So it's interesting. You could look at it two different ways. You could say that those displaced people, your end users, are actually partners. Because in a way, I don't think this is the right way to look at it, but again, this is a way you kind of use the canvas. You could say, put them as partners and put the UN and the government as in customers, because the partners are actually helping you generate revenue from the people that are paying you. Yes, exactly. So there are different ways to think about this, but again, I think this is the perfect way for now, and we'll go below. Any other issues or questions?
Are you going to be applying for like financing?
Different ways to think about this, but again, I think this is
maybe get like investor funds as well.
That's definitely an option. So I mean, this is once we talk about approaching investors, targeting the right ones that love this story. So this is kind of the precursor to that, because if you can drop this down in the second or third meeting and explain exactly how it works to them, that's going to be very helpful. So that's your financing. I mean, financing in the end is going to be multi-layer. It's going to be investor, it's going to be aid, it's going to be grants, it's going to be loans, whatever. But this is a great starting point. So let's go to the left side and we'll be hopefully have lunch.
Okay, so key activities is quite seems to be quite straightforward. I mean, we have a product idea, and it's been implemented quite widely, not in this kind of like single pack. The houses that we made before, we've shipped the stuff there, in bulk basically, and then it has been, if you need to build 50 houses, then you just ship the stuff in bulk, and now we are going to do it, in these packs. And we are working to develop that now. Our Finnish engineer is doing his stuff, and we are trying to get some students as well to help us to accelerate that. And then of course the supply chain it's not something that you don't just kind of think, oh, it would be nice to have this stuff and it turns up on your door. So this, working for IKEA, I think I have some experience of the supply chain for sure.
Yes.
And then this component assembly.
By the way, that's huge. So that's where your that's where your profile really comes in, because everybody realizes supply chain, logistics, all that shit is. I mean, that's the thing here, right?
But I mean, the thing about that is that there's nothing complicated. It is complicated, but it's only work.
You can say it's not complicated, but for us, it looks goddamn.
Yeah, it is. But this is kind of like my bread and butter. I've been working as the managing director of big IKEA companies, mostly in Russia and in Poland and around the world. And honestly, I mean, you know yourself, if you have a zavod in Russia without people making something, then it's not so easy to keep things running in the right way.
Yeah.
So I have some experience in that.
Actually, my question is like, but what's your real business? Are you in logistics business or?
No, house produce. Or home in a box. That's what we focus on. And it might be in the future that we get into that, but now we don't have resources for it. And that's why this is very much linked to the partners, because what we want to do is get partners, for example, in logistics, who can see the potential business and fund us now in order to get a piece of cake in the future.
And I have this reservation that in this business, the hardest thing to do is not actually just produce the wooden house, but logistics and supply chain.
Yes. So that's a great thing to think. So from a
like
from a
IKEA
barrier
can
to
create
entry.
you in 5 hours if they want to.
Yeah.
But
So
can they set up the logistics and do they have the channels to supply chains?
so at the back, you're always thinking about the barriers to entry, which is what an investor's thinking about. So why is it that say you make it, why is it nobody else can jump in or cannot? They will jump in, but why can they not create, do it as efficiently as you? And I do, because a lot of people will argue, for example, I mean, IKEA's logistics company, right? I mean, large.
The difference is that even though that IKEA would love to circumnavigate it, it's still a private company.
Yep.
And our customer, for example, is the Iraqi government.
Yep.
And for example, UN, they are already taking a lot of shit into Iraq.
Yes.
Development aid. And they have, like in Iraq, like 9 or 10 logistics hubs.
Yep.
So they actually have what we are doing is selling our product FCA Finland.
Yeah.
And then it's between the United Nations and the Iraqi government to sort out the logistics,
Yeah.
the delivery logistics, and the customs, because there is import tax and things like this to consider. And I spent a long time taking equipment from Finland and Sweden to Russia, and I know that if you don't know the right person, then it will be on the border maybe forever. So,
Yep.
but in any case,
Interesting. Okay.
yeah.
But it's a lot of interesting stuff.
So anyway, key activities, there is some work to do for sure. And that's where, my background is very much. And then about the key resources, it's, in Finland, it's administration, technical development, the location, where we're going to do it. We are very much aiming on this part of Finland. And then, of course, even though we are selling and the customer is organizing logistics, if we are going to put 1,000 of these units in one place, then we need to have secure delivery place, and we need to have some installation support, which is why we have the Iraqi guys that we are discussing with right now actually. And technical side support. So I don't think that we need a very big team actually to do this.
Well, that's an important message. You don't need you can get point expertise on your team, and then to scale this, because to scale this you need these partnerships and the supply chains and whatever, or the distribution chain. So it's a good message to an investor, for example, because it looks like you've got to have 1,000 people. You don't.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about 10,000 houses a year, which is our basic target, which is, let's say, it's about 70 million euro business a year, then we need to be doing about 400 houses a month, which is not, outrageous amount.
Yep.
Actually.
Got it, okay.
Okay, so then where are we then? Partners, well, that is, we are really hanging by our fingernails here now. We need some financing.
Yeah.
We had some,
Yeah.
and Tech has stuck their figures up, and then we went to the minister, and he stuck the figures up then, and some heads would roll, and we will get some bigger
Yeah.
them, I hope.
Yeah,
And of course, we're talking to other finances, private finances.
yeah,
Then our key partners, as I said before, logistics companies, and our thought is when we started the company, there are 5 owners, and actually 6, but anyway, 5 main owners with us, with the ownership equally split between us with different competences. And all we said is that we are not even, today we don't even want to keep control of the company. We are quite happy to give away the, well, we're not going to give anything away, but we are prepared to give ownership of the company for a slice of the, potentially very big pie to companies that are interested to help us now and will benefit from the business in future. So they help us now, and if it works, which honestly is high risk, then it will be big. And this will either be big or not work.
or not get off the car.
So it's it's the same as any risk. You have to put your foot over the line and say you want to do it or not.
Okay,
And then the construction components industry, it's just potential partner. And okay, our big product is LECA, which is this expanded clay.
yeah,
And then equipment suppliers, because of course we have this kept it purposely very cheap. This home in a box is basically just a house. But if they want to have, okay, we want to have a kitchen in every house, then, and we're doing 10,000 houses a year, then probably there's some companies who are interested to put a very cheap kitchen, maybe even IKEA. I don't know. I have very good connections there, but they're not world.
Hala is the best in the world to deliver this.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing, again, it's outside of the scale of this canvas, but it's making it very visceral and understandable that this combination is the state of the art now, and we're the best at working with it. And the partnerships are important, because again, this is expensive to put all this together and begin. So the partners need to also, you mentioned financing, but some of these may be willing to, delay the payables or to provide some upfront, line of credit or something like that. So there may be ways that, otherwise they're part of the channel, meaning part of getting your value proposition delivered to the end user. Otherwise, they're here.
I mean, there's other ways to support us other than cash.
Right.
Like you said, the payment terms and things like this. And with LECA, we have quite good relations, so.
Okay, good. Okay. Let's maybe go now to.
Yeah, so then revenue streams, cost structure. Well, costs is quite straightforward, I think. There's nothing special there. We need to buy some stuff and some people need to organize it. That's basically it. And then revenue streams. This is the idea that I stole a little bit from IKEA. What we are using is that we have a open book cost plus. So we say, because in IKEA industry, we are not, our aim is not to make profit.
Right.
It's to try to make the product as cheap as possible.
Yep.
And what, for example, Singapore and Whiskey, they raised something like 6 million euros for Haiti relief and then built like 3 houses, something like that.
Yep. Right.
What you get sued.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, anyway, but a lot of aid, if you send money, it goes missing. So we are very much going on promoting our transparency. We say, okay, this is our costs,
Right.
this is how much we want to earn,
Yeah.
and then this is the price you pay. So people really see, or let's say our real paying customers, they really see, nobody wants to do it for nothing.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
It's okay to make money.
Exactly. So I think that's good. Yeah.
And then we have these commercial sales that once we get rolling, then we can look at other markets, and we have a list, pile of A4 paper like this of people who are generally interested. But it's just having the resources to follow it up, and then if we can employ some sales reps, then we can go forward. And then we are looking at about 15%. Today we're looking at about 15% per unit.
Okay.
And basically what the customers want, they want as many houses as possible with as least money as possible that last as long as possible.
So efficiency and quality cost trade-off or whatever.
Yeah, so, you know, this house is not gonna last for 200 years, but it will last for, 20, 30 years.
Excellent.
And I hope there's still not a war in Iraq in 30 years' time.
Questions, comments? Good, I think this shows a lot, so thanks for the first 3 victims, and the next 3 victims need to be ready when we come back, so start with Opastos, Wizard Hazard, and then finish game day. Good. And then we'll move on to some other stuff. It looks like we're digging in, but I think this really helps conceptualize things. Great, thank you. So how about, we take till 1:15, so 45 minutes, is that okay? Is that enough? Good, thank you.
Well, I wonder how many people did I manage to insult in that. There was Finnish Red Cross, there was TechS, there was, who else? Apple.
They get sued by all the good guys. If you don't piss somebody off, you're not doing anything important.
I must have a very, very important person.
Gotta do it. All right.
Yeah, I don't know, so the super lunch and the regular lunch, I don't know. There's a supermarket close by, there's a kebab restaurant
It's
close
actually
by.
quite good. It's actually quite good. We went there like yesterday. You bought out the grill.
The grill place, like the glass.
Yeah, it's
house.
like a small like, container, just across the supermarket.
In general, you guys have not been here, there's over there, there's a fridge you can use if you want to do like your own food or snacks, there's a microwave oven.
Yeah, it's like
Heat it up. It's also possible to like phone a pizza place for delivery here if you guys want.
Where's the supermarket?
Well, Sally was going, are you going to the
I'm going there. It's pretty
few
close.
hundred meters from there.
So if you wanna come with me, I can.
I'm not going.
Okay, it's just like down the
Mitäs meidän juttua tästä? Oliko se ääni ihmisiä lähtenyt? Eikö lähti?
En mä tiedä, siis mä säädin tosta jotain. Sitten mä säädin täällä jotain.